Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a really close look at the brand new Garmin Forerunner 970. It's their latest premium running watch.
Yeah, lots to unpack here. We've looked at Garmin's own stuff, naturally, but also checked out DC Rainmaker's first impressions and a super detailed analysis from the 5K runner.
Right, so if you're a runner, maybe a triathlete, or just, a fitness tech enthusiast, this is definitely for you. We want to give you the key insights quickly.
Exactly. Our goal isn't just to list features, but to really understand what's new and significant about the 970, especially things that might actually change how you train, drawing on those expert takes like the 5K runners.
Okay, let's get started. The mission today: unpack the biggest new features, see what they mean for performance, especially through those different expert lenses. First up, hardware and design. What's changed?
Well, the first, maybe most visible thing is the built-in LED flashlight.
Ah, yes, the flashlight. DC Rainmaker seemed pretty keen on that.
Yeah, he called it surprisingly practical. It's got different white brightness levels, plus a red light option. Handy for those really early starts or, finding stuff in a dark transition zone.
Definitely see the appeal. What about under the hood? Sensors.
Big news there is the new Garmin Elevate Gen 5 optical heart rate sensor. They're promising better accuracy, especially when you're doing high-intensity stuff like intervals.
Okay, improved accuracy is always good.
Yeah.
Anything else with that sensor?
Yes, quite a bit, actually. It enables ECG functionality atrial fibrillation detection, though that's dependent on approval in your country, like the US and EU currently.
Right, so you get a notification if it detects something potentially concerning, prompting a checkup.
Exactly. And it also adds skin temperature monitoring, specifically during sleep.
Interesting. And I heard something about a speaker and microphone. That's new for the Forerunner line, right?
It is. It's a pretty big step. Means you can actually take calls from your wrist, use your phone's voice assistant, get audio prompts during workouts.
So similar to what we saw on the Venue 3, and maybe a bit like the Phoenix 8.
Kind of. It has the speaker and mic like the Venue 3 and borrows the idea from the Phoenix line, though maybe not quite the full mic capability you'd get on a Phoenix 8. But still, it makes it much more interactive.
Gotcha. And durability, the screen.
Good point. They've upgraded the lens to sapphire crystal. That's up from Gorilla Glass 3DX on the 965. The 5K runner specifically called that out as a really positive change.
Sapphire is definitely tougher. What about the physical size?
It's actually slightly thinner, believe it or not, just a tiny bit. 12.9 millimeter thick versus 13.2 millimeters on the 965, but it is slightly heavier, 56 grams versus 53.
Okay, minor tweaks there. And the user interface.
Also updated, the 5K runner described it as feeling like a Forerunner, but borrowing some visual cues from the Phoenix 8, so familiar but refreshed.
Okay, moving on. Battery life. How does it stack up against the 965?
Well, here's where it gets interesting. It's a bit of a mixed picture. In standard smartwatch mode, the battery life is actually down a bit, up to 15 days compared to 23 on the 965.
Oh, really? What about GPS modes?
Similar story for basic GPS-only mode, up to 26 hours versus 31. But, and this is important, when you get into the more advanced GNSS modes.
Like SATA-Q or the multiband.
Exactly. SATA-Q auto-select mode is slightly better, up to 23 hours versus 22. And the all-systems GNSS mode with multiband is also up, 21 hours versus 19. And that's especially true if you're playing music.
Ah, so they've optimized for the high-accuracy training scenarios.
Seems like it. The 5K runner highlighted that specifically. It suggests they're focusing battery gains where serious athletes might need them most during those long, demanding sessions with everything running. Plus, you get customizable battery profiles now, power modes, to tweak things yourself.
Okay, so maybe less day-to-day battery, but potentially more juice when you're really pushing it with all the features on. Makes sense. Now, that speaker and mic lead, what new smart features does that unlock?
Well, the obvious ones are making and taking calls right on the watch, assuming your phone's connected, of course.
Right, Bluetooth calling.
Yep. And you can send texts using your voice assistant, again, needs the phone paired. And general voice assistant support is there, too. Oh, and the VIRB remote feature for controlling Garmin cameras.
So it's leaning a bit more into the smartwatch territory.
Definitely. As the 5K runner noted, it does kind of blur those lines a bit more than previous Forerunners, adds convenience outside of pure sport tracking.
Let's shift to health and wellness. You mentioned skin temperature tracking earlier. What's the application there?
Primarily, it feeds into the women's health tracking features. Garmin says it allows for more accurate period predictions and can even provide retrospective ovulation estimates.
Okay. That could be really valuable for users tracking their cycles.
And building on the morning report, which people seem to like, there's now an evening report.
Evening report, what does that do?
It's kind of a wind-down summary. Reminds you about your sleep goal for the night, shows tomorrow's planned workout, the weather forecast, upcoming calendar events. Just a nice way to wrap up the day and prep for the next.
Cool. And I assume it still has all the other health stuff from the 965.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Training readiness, sleep score, body battery, HRV status, nap detection. All that comprehensive health monitoring is still there. It's a very complete package on that front.
Good. Now let's talk training. Workouts, plans. This is core Forerunner territory. What's new, especially thinking about that multi-sport focus the 5K runner has?
Big news for triathletes. Actual Garmin Triathlon coach support is built in now.
What does that mean exactly?
It means you can set a triathlon race date, and the watch, through Garmin Connect, will generate a tailored training plan leading up to it. It's much more integrated than before. That's a major upgrade for the multi-sport crowd.
Okay, that sounds significant. What about creating your own workouts?
Also improved, you can now build complex, structured multi-sport workouts in Garmin Connect and sync them over. Think custom bricks, specific session sequences, much more flexibility for athletes who have very particular training structures.
Right, more granular control. Now, let's get into those running-specific metrics. The 5K runner's analysis seemed particularly interested here. What do we got?
Okay, first up is something called running tolerance. It's designed to help you understand the impact of your weekly mileage.
How so?
It looks at your training load over time and essentially gives you feedback on whether your current volume is sustainable and even suggests a recommended maximum weekly distance to potentially help you avoid overdoing it.
Interesting, like a dynamic mileage guide. What else?
Impact load. This one is fascinating. It tries to quantify the stress on your body not just from distance or pace, but from the surface you run on and the gradient.
So it considers if you're running uphill, downhill, on pavement versus trail.
Exactly. DC Rainmaker noted how much more impact running downhill generates, for instance. This metric aims to capture that. It could be really useful for managing injury risk, especially for someone like the 5K runner who might mix road and trail.
That does sound useful.
Yeah.
Okay, what other new running metrics are there?
There's running economy and step speed loss. These aim to give deeper insights into your running efficiency and form.
Right, efficiency and form analysis. Sounds advanced.
It is, but there's a catch. And the 5K runner really hammered this point home. To get these specific new metrics, you need Garmin's new HRM 600 chest strap.
Sold separately, I assume.
Sold separately, so that's an additional cost to factor in. Running economy looks at your efficiency at a given pace, while step speed loss measures how much your speed dips while your foot is on the ground.
And the 5K runner's take on that.
He questioned whether the insights from these, given the extra cost of the strap, are substantially more actionable than existing metrics, or, compared to data you might get from something like a stride pod. It's a valid point about value.
Okay, so potentially powerful data, but requires an extra purchase and maybe needs comparison to other tools. What else for runners?
There's a feature called Auto Lap by Timing Gates. This is designed for races.
How does it work?
You can essentially link your watch's lapping function to specific points on a race course map, like official mile or kilometer markers. So even if your actual GPS path isn't perfect, your watch should record the lap split right as you pass the timing mat or marker.
For more accurate race splits, regardless of tangents. Could be very useful in triathlons, too, on the run course.
Precisely. And then you also have existing but potentially refined features like running power displayed natively, hill score to quantify your climbing ability, and endurance score to gauge your overall aerobic fitness. Plus, the projected race time feature using your data to estimate finish times.
Wow, okay, quite a suite of running tools. Does it add any new types of activities?
It does, quite a few actually. Beyond the standard stuff, you now get dedicated profiles for brick workouts, duathlon, pool triathlon specifically.
Makes sense for the multi-sport focus.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yep. Also obstacle racing, hunting, horseback riding, fishing, different types like boating, sailing, sail racing, even snorkeling in a sailing expedition mode.
So really branching out beyond run, bike, swim broadens the appeal significantly, especially for someone like the 5K runner who might do various cross-training.
Definitely makes it more of an all-around outdoor watch too.
Okay, what about mapping and navigation? Any upgrades there?
The full-color mapping is apparently improved, meant to be more dynamic and intuitive. Dynamic round-trip routing, where it creates routes for you, now lets you replan things mid-activity.
Well, that's handy if you need to change course.
Yeah. For golfers, there are auto course view updates, and it comes preloaded with road, trail, and even ski resort maps. The Expedition GPS mode for long treks is still there too.
Seems pretty comprehensive on the navigation front. Any other sort of quality of life features worth mentioning?
A few neat ones, you can now migrate settings from your previous Garmin watch, which should make setup way easier.
Oh, that's always appreciated.
There's a new large font mode option for better readability, especially handy mid-workout. A suggested finish line feature can intelligently trim your activity if you forget to hit stop right away after a race.
Huh. Useful for clumsy fingers post-race.
And something called Garmin Share lets you sync locations, courses, and workouts with other compatible Garmin devices nearby.
Okay, lots of little refinements too. So let's talk brass tacks. Price and value. What's the verdict, especially considering the 5K runner's analysis?
Well, it's launching at a higher price point than the 965 did, and the 5K runner definitely raised the question of whether the upgrades, while numerous, justify that price jump for everyone.
Especially if you already have a 965 or maybe a high-end Phoenix.
Exactly. It really depends on which of these new features, the flashlight, the ECG, the triathlon coach, the new running metrics if you buy the strap, are truly valuable to you and your specific training. It's a personal calculation.
And just to be clear, none of this requires that Garmin Connect Plus subscription thing, right?
Correct. All the features we've discussed are part of the watch purchase. No ongoing subscription needed for the core functionality.
Good to know. Okay, so wrapping up. The Forerunner 970 looks like a significant evolution. You've got tangible hardware upgrades like the flashlight, the better sensor with ECG, the speaker ceramic, the sapphire lens.
Right. Coupled with some pretty deep software enhancements, especially for runners and triathletes. The coaching, those new dynamics, better multi-sport workout support, plus the added smart features.
Our goal here was really to give you a clear picture of what this watch brings to the table, filtering through the specs and reviews, including that detailed perspective from the 5K runner.
Hopefully we've distilled the key changes and what they might mean in practice.
So the final thought we want to leave you with is this. Considering everything we've covered, all the new hardware, the software, the running metrics, and the insights from experts like the 5K runner, what features on the Forerunner 970 actually resonate most with you? How would they genuinely impact your training, your races, or even just your day-to-day?
Yeah, it's worth thinking about. And definitely check out those sources like the 5K Runner's site if you want to go even deeper on some of these points. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.